Hey everybody, and welcome back to Life with Lolo. This time for our weekly recap of Sistas. This is season 2, episode 15, and it was titled A Tough Decision. Alright, y'all, before I jump back into this recap review, if you are not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button along with the notification bell. And if you end up liking this recap review, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button along with the share button. All right, y'all. So this is the last Wednesday's episode because I did not get a chance to watch it. So I watched the last week's episode, and I'm going to do a review on this week's episode as well. All right, so let's just jump right into it. So we see Preston. We see we're left off 2 weeks ago with Preston sitting in front of Danny's door looking all beat up, bruised, and stuff like that. Child, he looked more beat up than Maurice did after he got jumped by Alonzo or whatever. But I was like, all right, whatever. Danny is like, we need to get you to the hospital. You look bad. He like, no, I don't want to go. I just want to go in there and lay on your little ass couch and relax a little bit. And so she was like, all right, whatever. I'll bring you in here. So then she asked him what happened. He was like, my brothers beat my ass and stuff. And well, at first he was like, he ain't want to tell her. Can you just give me some ice? Can you give me a rag and stuff? And then eventually he told her, like, my brothers beat my ass or whatever. And she was like, well, why they do this? And so he was just like, I don't want to tell you and stuff. So then she tells him that they came to to her job or whatever. He was like, what? They came to your job. Did they touch you? Did they do anything to you? She was like, no. So he apologized for them, coming to the job and stuff. And so she was like, no, they ain't touch me. They ain't do nothing to me. I ran over with my cart. He was like, you did what now? Who? So she was like, I ran over them with a cart. So he was like, oh, no wonder his ass was limping. Sir, good job. Good that you did that or whatever. And so he was like, they don't want us to be together or whatever. And so somehow Preston be cracking me up. Him and Danny scenes be cracking me up. Somehow she dropped the ice onto his balls or whatever. He was like, Danny, that's my balls now. I don't know why they cracked me up so much, but it was the way he said it. That's my balls. Now everything else hurts on me. Now you try. I was cracking up. So and she was like, well, they don't want us together. And he was like, they're not going to stop, coming after me and stuff because we're going to be together. So he wanted to break it off or whatever. She tried to break it off. And he was like, hush with all that. You the best thing that ever happened to me or whatever. And she was like, he was like, look, don't worry about it. And he was like, I'm here to stay. So then she wanted to know because the brother said that she was a bet or whatever. And so she wanted to know, was that true? And he was like, no, that ain't true. Like, you met my sister at the airport. Like, she the one who asked for your phone number because I was so shy and stuff. So, like, no, that wasn't true. Like, you met my sister. My sister is not like that. And she was like, well, yeah, your sister didn't seem like that type or whatever. And he was like, and I would never bet on someone as special as you. And he was like, I can't believe those sons of bitches and stuff. She was like, you calling your mama son is a bitch? And he was like, well, they my half brothers. And so she was like, well, I really think we should get you to the hospital and stuff. He was like, no, just let me soak in a cold bath and stuff. So then she helped him up to get to the bathroom or whatever. I'm just going to just mush them together because it really wasn't a lot of scenes or anything like that. So he ends up saying, like, because she was like, well, where you gonna go? Basically, she was nursing him and stuff, and got the ice on him and stuff like that. She taking care of him, and he like, just be gentle and stuff. And he says again that he feels bad for her, for them coming up to her job and stuff. And she was like, I was raised in the South, and I'm used to it or whatever. I can handle it and stuff. And so then she was like, well, what you gonna do? And he was like, well, I'll just get my stuff some other time, but I got money so I can stay at a hotel tonight or whatever. And she was like, no, won't you just stay here? And he kind of looking like, I don't really want to stay here because he know how Danny get or whatever. So he don't really want to stay there, but she like, well, I want you to stay and stuff. And he was like, all right, well, I mean, if you want me to stay, I'll stay. And but what about those other guys coming in? She was like, what other guys? He was like, what about Zach? She was like, you let Zach in more than I do. He was like, you right. So then he was like, well, what about the butt liquor? She was like, look, we're not doing it again, okay? I already told you that he not coming over here. I don't want him over here anymore or whatever like that. He was like, all right, I ain't licking your butt now. So I was like, Preston don't, he is not letting that go. So then he was like, well, just let me pay the rent. She was like, oh, that was the giving, boo. You was going to do that. But how long you going to stay for? Because you paying the whole rent. Like, she was like, oh, that just turned me on. Like, oh, shit, if you wasn't hurt, I put a hurting on you or whatever. So he was like, look, I'm serious, Daddy. She was like, oh, I'm serious too. So then she was like, well, what you want to eat? And he was just like, I could eat me a little chocolatey snack. So then she was like, no, like real food and stuff. Don't be looking at me like that, boy. So, and then she go over to make a meal. They real cute together. They is cute. I think they're really cute together. Then like we gonna rewind. So then we see Maurice. He comes in from work or whatever. Calvin getting dressed for work and stuff. Calvin then rearranged some furniture. Maurice all upset that Calvin then rearranged the chair because he a peeping Tom, and I guess he like looking out the window at the other apartments and stuff like that, or the other people in the apartments and stuff. So he like, all right, man, I'll change the chair back and stuff. So then Maurice like, well, where you about to go? He was like, well, I'm going out on a date and stuff. And he was like, oh, okay, so he basically baited Calvin into asking about Bree, and then he was saying like, well, maybe you and Bree need to kind of, stay away from each other or whatever. And then Maurice told Calvin like, she not into you, she wants somebody less metro and more thugged out. And so he was like, oh, so she is into that dude at the job and stuff. And he was like, well, no, she not at the into that guy or whatever, but just keep it PC or whatever. Don't ask me about her. I'm not going to tell you about her. Like, keep me out y'all business and stuff like that. Y'all two just need to leave each other alone or whatever. But you can tell Calvin kind of butthurt that Bree not really into him. But was Bree ever into him? Like, let's just be honest. Was she ever into him? Like, no. So I'm just like, boy, stop. He go off to go on his little date, child. And then we see Andy. So Andy come in her apartment, child, and there is roses galore. Red roses, white roses, purple, like roses all over the place, child. From who else? Gary. So he wrote her a card, and the card said, I know that 1,000,000 flowers couldn't make up for what I've done to you, but I'm sorry. I love you, and you are in my heart. I know you don't want to reach I know you don't want to reach out, but if you do, just know I would love to prove to you how sorry I really am. So she was all smiling and stuff, and I was like, oh my God, Andy, don't you, because then she picked up her phone. I said, oh my God, she called this man, but she didn't. She called the front desk, I guess, and asked the doorman to, come get the flowers or whatever. So I was like, they just opened up her apartment and put the flowers in there, like... I wouldn't like that, but I guess that's what they do in them apartments, child. I don't know. But anyway, so then she took a picture of the flowers, and then she ends up calling Karen. So then she tells Karen, because Karen like, well, girl, I'm driving, but I saw the pictures, they all from him. And she was like, yeah, they all from him or whatever. And she was like, well, how you feel about it? And she was like, I don't know. She was like, well, did he leave a note? And she like, yeah, he left a note, saying like, he loved me and all this other stuff. She was like, girl, don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. She was like, I'm not, or whatever. She was like, don't call him. She was like, I'm not. She was like, She was like, move on, Andy, move on. So there was a knock at the door. She was like, who at the door? She was like, it's the doorman. You sure it's the doorman? Would you want me to video conference you? Like, it's the doorman. She was like, all right, I trust you, girl. So then the doorman come in, and he was like, oh yeah, you got a lot of flowers and stuff. So he was like, it took 2 people to bring it in or whatever earlier. She was like, oh wow, remind me to tip them or whatever. So then, or give me their name so I can tip them, something like that. And so then he was like, oh, okay. He was like, what you want me to do with the flowers? She was like, well, you can give them to your girlfriend. He was like, she not worth no flowers. I said, what kind of shit? So then he was like, I'm having about the same problems as you have in a relationship. She was like, what you know about my relationship or whatever? He was like, I mean, this is a small building, small rooms, thin walls and stuff. So, we know everything. So she was like, oh, what they saying? He was like, well, they're not really saying nothing that important and stuff. He was like, not like they saying about the man upstairs in the penthouse and stuff. She was like, oh yeah, everybody know about him. So he was like, what you heard? And so, child, he likes the ladies. He be flirting all the time. Like all this stuff. I'm like, Andy, if he claimed he knew what was going on with the man upstairs, why he asking you, girl, think before you start talking? So she's saying like she be going in the elevator and he be flirting with her. And so the doorman was like, oh, well, the wife ain't going to want to, the wife not going to be happy about that. So she was like, So she just telling the business and stuff. Child, he ended up taking the flowers and he was like, all right, well, let me go ahead and clean this up. And then he said something about the wife. Something about the wife got flyers with her picture on it and she handed it out to the people in the apartment complex, talking about something, Andy messing with married men and stuff. I said, oh Lord. So she was like, no wonder everybody be looking at me all crazy. So at any rate, the doorman, he starts taking the flowers and stuff. So he's taking the flowers and he putting them on there. And so she was like, oh, let me tip you. He was like, no, that's okay. You don't got to tip me and stuff. So she was like, all right, well, at least what's your name? So he telling that child he the dang on son of the man in the penthouse. She like, oh, okay, so why you the doorman? Like, yes, father own all these, apartment buildings and stuff. He was like, well, I'm in college. He's rich. I'm not, type thing, or whatever. She was like, oh, okay. He was like, well, let me go and get these flowers. She was like, yeah, and I'm going to need to learn how to keep my goddamn mouth closed. I said, duh, girl. Her ass ended up getting put out the damn apartment for talking trash. We see Zach. He arrives at Fatima's house with his whole bag. He's talking about he ready for a shower. Child, all I took out of this scene was Fatima ain't got no human hair in her weave. Zach strong as hell. And they did about 12 positions in 1 minute in that damn shower. And it was making me like, whoo, child. I was like, ooh, rewind. And I learned that Zach was really strong. Because he was strong. Like, he had lifted her legs up. They was like bent over in the shower. Now, he could have slipped and fell. And Fatima could have squashed his child. Because she got that butt. And the shower, the soap, it could have been fatal. But he's strong and he got some good balance up in that shower. So it was a good scene. That was a good scene. I think that's one of the best scenes that I seen from Tyler Perry. That was really good. What y'all thought about? Never mind. Anyway, we see Karen and Aaron, they chatting. They going back and forth and stuff, and they talking about they tired. So he like, well, maybe I should leave, and she like, oh no, I don't want you to leave. You can stay. And they just going back and forth, just chatting. You know, that awkward kind of chatting when you dating somebody and stuff. And she brings up the hotel, and she like, well, how did you restrain yourself from going all the way with me and stuff? Like, how do you abstain and stuff? And so he like, well, when I was married, I really wasn't thinking about that like that. But, now that I'm, in a single relationship or with you or whatever, I thought about it a lot. But I know that I want to make this work. So I'm going to take my time because sex kind of changes people or whatever. And people become different. And she was like, well, how so? And he was like, they become more attached, more possessive, more eager. And, less likely to commit or whatever like that. And he said he wants to come with a commitment that's more than just sex. So I got what he was saying. I feel what he was saying. And I kind of agree what he's saying too. But anyway, she was like, well, she got it, but she was just kind of wondering if she could do it or whatever, because she misses that feeling from a man and whatnot. And he was saying, but then she was like, well, there's no real timeline. And he was like, well, the timeline is marriage. And she was like, whoa, Kimasabi, like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. And he was like, well, I'm not saying we got to get married tomorrow, but we need to, that's what I want. And he said reaching that goal will make things much sweeter or whatever like that. So she, of course, unsure if she can do that and stuff like that. And she said, so then he asked, was she going to sleep with other people? And she was like, I mean, no, but we're not committed or anything like that. And he was like, well, that's true. And he was like, it wouldn't, what did he say? He said if she slept with somebody else, it would upset him, but it wouldn't threaten him something like that. Like it wouldn't it wouldn't threaten him because he knows what he brings to the table, and that other person wouldn't bring what he brings or whatever. So she was like, oh, okay, Mr. Confident. He was like, I just know what I got and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, Aaron, I see you. And so she was like, okay, well, we can talk all night or whatever. Child, why the next question he asked her was how old she was when she lost her virginity. She almost choked on that damn wine. I told y'all about Danny and them. And then we see them in bed, Karen and Aaron. The ladies laying in the bed. And I guess it was the next morning or whatever. And yeah, it was the next morning because it was the next morning with Danny. No, was it the next morning with Danny and Aaron? No, it was that same night. But anyway, Karen and Aaron, they just laying in the bed and stuff. And she just looking at him like, And she was like, yeah, this ain't gonna work. This is not gonna work out. And he was like, what you mean it ain't gonna work out? She was like, look at you laying in the bed. Look at you. And he was like, what? Look at me. And he must have been like, ding, I'm ready to go. And so he was like, oh, my bad. Let me go and fix this child. And so he was like, well, when we do it, it's gonna be worth it and all that again. And then she said that she practiced celibacy before, and the reason why she practiced it because she was tired of giving guys a piece of her, and they was just making, what did she say? She said she's tired of men taking from her and leaving her with less of herself or whatever like that. So she said she has to get back in that mind frame, but it's just so hard because sex is so good. And he was like, you talking about your ex? And she was like, no, I ain't talking about my ex. I'm just talking about a man, period. Like just the man touching me, feeling on me, kissing me. And then she getting all close to him. And he like, all right, look, I got to go, okay? Because we about to bounce chicken. Wow. And that's not what I want. So he about to get up and stuff. And then somehow he was like, well, you thinking about your ex and stuff. And she like, I'm not thinking about my ex. I keep telling you I'm not thinking about him. And so then he was like, well, you call his name out while you sleep. She was like, no, I don't. He was like, yes, you do. Every time you sleep, you call his name out and stuff like that. And he was like, well, tell me about your ex. Like, tell me something about, did you love him, or was he good or something like that. She was like, well, who asked that of that ex, somebody's ex? And he was like, well, sometimes you need to know what the ex did wrong so you can not fall into those patterns or whatever. And so she was like, oh, okay, I kind of get that or whatever. And somehow she was like, well, I don't really want to talk about him, especially what he did to my credit card. He was like, all right, yeah, and on that note, I'm just going to go ahead and go. And then she tried to kiss him, and he kind of fell all out the bed, child. We see Fatima, and she got the wet and wavy curl pattern going on in her weave. So like wavy. To me, all she needed to do was put a little oil in it and keep it popping, child. But she said no, she ain't with that. And she want to get her hair done. So who she called? Karen. I said, ain't this about a blip? You gonna call Karen after you done finished smashing her ex. But I guess you don't know it's an ex or whatever, child. But she like, I need to be at work by 9. My hair got wet, girl. So she make an appointment. Karen like, okay, all right, no problem. Fatima goes, she wakes Zach up and stuff, and they talking about the night before, and he was like, you trying to keep me up all night putting that thing on me, girl. And she like, yeah, I know. He like, well, let me see what's underneath that hat and stuff. So he tried to take the hat off. She like, And I'm like, girl, why you got this? That hat looks so ridiculous. It was just like sitting there. Like the hat wasn't pushing the hair down. It was just sitting on top of her head. She looked stupid as hell. But she tell him whatever she had to tell him, she was going to tell him later. So they flirting, of course. We see Karen, she at the police station. She done filed charges on Zach for the credit card stuff. I said, girl, the cop like, we gonna pick him up. I said, OMG. And I said, Karen, wasn't you gonna wait for Bree to find out what happened with the charges? Like, why she couldn't wait for Bree to hear back from the lady on what was going on with the charges and stuff? But I guess she said, look, I need to file these charges now for I punk out or whatever. So then we see Bree, she looking at her phone and she talking about, oh, so you just not gonna call me or whatever. So of course we know she's talking about Calvin. So she calls Danny. Danny like, look here, girl, I'll call you later. She was like, well, why you pick up the phone if you gonna call me later? She was like, well, I'll call you later. She was like, well, who over there? She was like, is Preston over there? She was like, yeah, girl, but I'll call you later. So you just wanted me to know that Preston was over there? Yes, I did. Okay, and I'll call you later. But I got an issue. What's your issue, girl? like, Calvin hasn't called me back. She was like, girl, that's not an issue. That's a blessing. Started cracking up. Brie was like, girl, I'll just talk to you later, okay? I'm gonna check his page out. She was like, all right, girl. Then we see Zach, he driving. So Zach driving, girl, why he get pulled over, and the doggone cop is like, let me see your license, registration, all that good stuff. So he shows him that and stuff. He go back to the car and stuff and whatever. And then he was like, sir, get out the car. You got a warrant out for your arrest or whatever. And that's how the episode ended. So I'm gonna do episode 16. So be on the lookout for that episode. But if you are not subscribed to this channel right now, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the thumbs up, and hit the share so everybody else can see this video as well. All right, y'all. Until next time, peace.